Hi. So first things first, this is the first video that I'm making that is exclusive to this channel. The other ones were uploads from my previous channel that if you guys have been keeping up with the lore, if you're up to date on the manga, I was hacked at 78,000 subscribers and was sold. That channel was sold off to some random dude that now has 24,000 subscribers and 7 views a video. So fuck you, dude. But yes, this is the first video that is completely genuine to this channel. I haven't been in front of a camera like this since March, since I was hacked. So it's fucking almost July now. So I'm kind of rusty at it, but we'll see how it goes. And last thing, okay? I know the camera quality is dog shit. Okay, I'm broke. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm broke, so this is what you're getting, okay? Plus, it's a video essay. These are video essays. You don't even need to be watching. You just listen. That's it. Fucking put me on the phone. Lock your phone if you have YouTube Red. If not, just put me face down. And put me under your pillow and fall asleep. That's what these videos are for. Or for learning. You don't have to watch this. Okay. Now that that's out the way, let's move on to the video. So the first case we're going to be looking at today would be the infamous Winnipeg Greyhound bus decapitation and cannibalization case, which is the case of Vince Lee, where he murdered and butchered basically innocent man by the name of Tim McLean. So on July 30th, 2008, Tim McLean was actually coming home from Edmonton back to Winnipeg, Canada via a Greyhound bus after working at a fair because his job was working in a carnival. The Greyhound bus was taking Yellowhead Highway that traveled through Saskatchewan, that traveled from Edmonton all the way down to Winnipeg, and this was at around 6:55 p.m. at night. Tim sat at the rear of the bus, right in front of the lavatory or the toilet or the latrine, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't care. He sat in front of the shitter. The bus made a stop in a town called Erickson, where a new passenger had just gotten on the bus and sat a few seats ahead of Tim, and that man went by the name of Vince Lee. Passengers described Vincent as a big 40-year-old Asian man wearing sunglasses who originally sat towards the front of the bus, but after another scheduled stop, he moved to sit right next to Tim. Tim was reported to have barely even acknowledged Vince's presence, and he put his headphones back onto his head and he fell asleep laying against the window pane. Witnesses report that as Tim lay fast asleep against the window pane of the bus, Vince then produced a large hunting knife and started stabbing Tim repeatedly in the neck and the chest. When the attack began, the bus driver obviously realized what was happening, pulled over to the side of the road to allow the other passengers to exit the bus safely, and they all ran out and the bus driver locked the doors behind them, leaving Vince and Tim in the bus alone. After a couple seconds and the initial hysteria had calmed down, the bus driver and 2 other men tried to enter the bus to try and save Tim from the clutches of Vince, but from behind the bus doors, Vince was standing there and slashing at the door, trying to keep people away from the door of the bus because he wanted to further mutilate Tim's body. After Vince went back and continued to stab Tim repeatedly in the neck, his head eventually decapitated from the rest of his body, and Vince was then seen brandishing Tim's head as some sort of a trophy and showing it to the rest of the passengers before walking back to the defiled corpse and cutting pieces of flesh off of Tim and putting them in his mouth and eating them. At 8:30 p.m., the Canadian police finally arrived on scene to see that Vince was still on the bus and that now there was a truck driver who had seen the commotion and pulled over to the side, was brandishing a crowbar along with the bus driver to try and keep Vincent inside of the bus. The other passengers who were also on the bus at the time were all huddled on the side of the road, crying and vomiting and screaming hysterically at the horrid sight that they had just witnessed, because as you remember, he not only stabbed and defiled this corpse, he took the head of this man they had just seen enter the bus and was fast asleep and held it up to them like a trophy. At 9:00 p.m., the standoff between Vince and the police had escalated to the point where they had to get a special negotiation team as well as a very heavily armed tactical team out there, because Vince was acting hysterical at this point while pacing the length of the bus with Tim's severed head in one hand and his knife in the other. He would walk the entire length of the bus and continually stabbing the body as he was walking by. During the standoff, there were points where Vince had stopped pacing the length of the bus in front of the body and started cutting parts of his flesh and organs off and eating them while saying, "I have to stay on this bus forever." The entire standoff came to a halt on July 31st at 01:30 a.m. when Vince tried to escape from the bus from a window when he was apprehended by police, where they found pieces of Tim's flesh inside of his pockets. For example, they found pieces of hair, pieces of stripped flesh, and even an ear inside of Tim's pockets. And when they looked inside of the bus, they saw body parts everywhere. Tim's eyes and his heart were never recovered or seen again, and even though he denies it to this day, it is highly speculated that Vince ate both of the eyeballs as well as Tim's heart. If we go back to the day before, on July 29th, 2008, he was reported to have gotten off of a bus in Edmonton carrying 3 pieces of luggage and staying the night next to a grocery store on a bench. According to one witness, he was seen at 3 o'clock in the morning, bolt upright, sitting in the bench with his eyes wide open. And he even sold his brand new laptop to a 15-year-old boy for $60. It was later discovered that Vince had been diagnosed with a severe case of schizophrenia, and the reason he killed Tim was because he thought he heard the voice of God telling him to kill Tim. According to a witness named Garnet Catton, he describes the way that Vince attacked Tim, because he said that it's almost like he didn't know that the other passengers were even on the bus, and there was no rage in his eyes, and there was no hint as to any sort of anger towards Tim. It was like he moved like a robot, like just going through the motions. When Vince appeared finally in front of a judge, he reportedly only spoke 3 words the entire time: "Please kill me." Vince's trial finally came to a close on March 3rd, 2009, with him being found not guilty and not criminally responsible due to a mental illness, and he was then committed to a mental health facility. And on February 10th, 2017, Vince Lee was absolutely discharged from the mental health facility. So what that means is that there is no one making sure that he is taking his schizophrenic medications, and there is also no one to make sure that he is safe, he is alive, and the people around him are safe and alive as well. There is a lot of rehabilitation that Vince Lee went through in order to get to his unsupervised release and absolute discharge. I'm going to leave a link in the description to all of these articles' Wikipedia pages so that you could read the aftermath for yourselves and maybe even gather some more information that maybe I haven't covered, or maybe things that I got wrong. If you're interested in learning things about the topics that I bring up, please check the descriptions for the more source material that I use, and also don't forget to do your own research and maybe you'll find things that I didn't even know about. Now, with that being said, let's get on to the second case, which a lot of people think is a copycat of this killing, and that person goes by the name of Luka Magnotta. So I'm not gonna lie to you, Luka is a fat fucking piece of shit. Fuck this guy. So Luka Magnotta is one of those guys that just wants attention in any way, shape, or form, and he believes that all attention is good attention, even attention for murder, which is what caused him to do all of these things to Junlin. And I'm going to read his attempts at notoriety directly from Wikipedia to you, and I want you to just ponder what this guy is. Like, what the fuck is this guy even? 2007, Magnotta was an unsuccessful competitor in Out TV's reality series Cover Guy. He had multiple cosmetic surgeries and auditioned for the Slice Network television show Plastic Makes Perfect in February 2008. He created many profiles on various internet social media and discussion forums over several years to plant a variety of claims about himself. Among other things, he purported to be a successful model and prominent porn star. Police stated that Magnotta had set up at least 70 Facebook pages and 20 websites under different names. Magnotta would use these pages and multiple false online identities to sing his own praises, one page even calling him the new James Dean. attack people he disliked, or spread false information about himself in an effort to attract attention. That's a lot. And we're not even fucking halfway done with this part of the article. In 2007, a rumor claimed that Magnotta was in a relationship with Carla, I can't pronounce that, Homolka. Holy shit! Carla Homolka is a Canadian serial killer who acted as an accomplice to her husband, Paul Bernardo, taking active parts in the rapes and murders of at least 3 minors in Ontario, including her own sister. What the fuck? What in the fuck is this case, man? So he's claimed that he was in a relationship with a fucking stupid bitch, for one. A high-profile Canadian convicted murderer, which Magnotta denied in a subsequent interview with the Toronto Sun. Okay, so now we're past that bit of information that was kind of key to how this guy acts. During the murder investigation of Jun Lin, the one that we're about to talk about, Montreal police announced that the pair had dated, but soon retracted the statement and acknowledged that they had no evidence to corroborate the claim. As with the Homolka relationship, Magnotta repeatedly denied other claims that he had planted as hoaxes as part of a campaign of cyberstalking against him. A trans woman who had briefly dated Magnotta at the time said that in 2012, I don't know why they added the trans woman. A woman who had briefly dated Magnotta at the time said that in 2012, he was obsessed with becoming famous and that he seemed to perceive Homolka and her accomplice as role models. So, given all of the information that I just gave to you, I want you to form your own fucking opinions of him in your head and then look at his mugshot and tell me with absolute certainty, that this guy is in his right mind. So as with the last case, I'm going to leave the Wikipedia article to this case in the description below, because even though, yes, it does detail this case, it also details a lot of other crimes that Luka committed throughout his years. And it's kind of nuts, but we're here to talk about the Jun Lin case. So if you want to learn about the other cases that Luka had committed, feel free to go down in the description below and click that link and read for yourself, because this dude is just, what the fuck? So Jun Lin was last seen alive on May 24th, 2012, and his friends reported getting a text message from him at 9 p.m. But his boss became suspicious because he didn't show up for work the next day. And when his friends went to his apartment and saw that it was completely empty, he was reported missing finally on May 29th, 2012. The last images showing Jun Lin alive were taken on May 24th, 2012, and it showed Jun joining Luka in his apartment, or walking into the apartment building where Luka lived. However, the next day, on May 25th, which is 4 days before he was reported missing, a video was uploaded to the website bestgore.com titled "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick." The video depicts a naked man tied to a bedpost while being repeatedly stabbed with what looks like an ice pick, thus the name of the video, "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick," but it was later discovered to be a screwdriver and also a kitchen knife. He was then dismembered, and then acts of necrophilia were then performed on the body, and then pieces of the flesh were cut off from the body and then made for a dog to eat, and then the dog chews on the corpse. Materials promoting this video, for example advertisements or trailers, if you will, were reportedly being seen throughout the internet 10 full days before One Lunatic, One Ice Pick was posted on May 25th. So if it was posted on May 25th and on May 24th Jun went missing, that means on May 15th Luka had basically planned this entire thing to happen. So not only has it elevated from, you know, some of the more sadistic crimes that have ever taken place in the modern era, it also happens to be premeditated, meaning planned. Like Luka planned for this to happen from the very get-go. On 26 May 2012, one day after this video had been posted, a attorney from Montana, like the state of Montana, saw this video and tried to report it to the sheriff's department and even the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and they kind of just blew him off. Best Gore viewers actually tried to report the video, and that was when they actually started taking it seriously, and then confirmed that this male that was in the video and the body parts that were dismembered matched the body parts that were sent to various places across Canada. And I didn't even get to that part, because not only did he dismember Junlin, he sent his body parts across Canada to multiple places. 11 a.m. on March 29th, a package containing the left foot of Junlin was received by the Conservative Party of Canada, and the package was stained with blood, had a foul smell, and had a red heart on it. Another package containing the left hand of Junlin was intercepted at the post office, and that one was addressed to the Liberal Party of Canada, and it also has the same exact description: stained with blood, foul smell, and a red heart. A janitor discovered the decomposing torso of Junlin in a pile of garbage behind an apartment building in the Snowdon area of Montreal, and it was packed inside of a suitcase. And the reason he didn't pick it up was because there was too much garbage that day, so it wouldn't fit. After searching the scene, police found various human body parts as well as sharp and blunt objects, even papers identifying Luka Magnotta. There was also footage from surveillance cameras from across the street where a post office was that show Luka Magnotta carrying garbage bags behind the apartment building and just leaving them there. A note was also found inside of the Conservative Party's package that they received with the left foot, and that note said that there were 6 different body parts that were distributed throughout Canada. 3 of these packages were intercepted by police, and their contents remain undisclosed to this day to prevent copycats from trying to emulate what he did. On June 13, 2012, the 4 limbs and his torso were linked to Lin using DNA from his family, and on July 1st, his severed head was recovered by the shore of a lake after receiving an anonymous tip. I'm about to read the charges that were on his arrest warrant. There are 4 different main charges that first started off local to Montreal but then expanded Canada-wide. The first one is first-degree murder, obviously for murdering Junlin. The second is committing an indignity to a dead body because of the necrophilia that was performed on Junlin's corpse. Publishing obscene material for publishing one lunatic, one ice pick. Mailing obscene, indecent, immoral, or scurrilous material for, mailing body parts to different members of, conservative and liberal parties as well as schools. And criminally harassing Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper and several unnamed members of Parliament. On May 31st, which is 6 days after the video initially went online and 7 days after Junlin went missing, the Canadian authorities asked Interpol to put a red notice on him. If you are unaware, Interpol is the international police. There is no running from Interpol. You can go wherever you want because Interpol is there too. So one, getting wanted by Interpol, you don't want that. And a red notice is basically a detailed case file on who they're looking for, and it is distributed worldwide. So all of the police from all of the different countries throughout the world know exactly who you are, what you did, and what you look like. And on June 4th, 2012, Luka Magnotta was finally apprehended by the Berlin police while he was caught inside of an internet cafe reading articles about himself. This fucking guy is... Fuck this guy, dude. Before he was apprehended, the Berlin police reportedly said that he tried giving fake names multiple times before he finally revealed who he actually was and taken into German custody. Now notice I said he didn't give a fake name. He gave multiple fake names. And just reading about this guy, he probably gave like 7. Because he's just, fuck this guy, dude. Fuck this guy. On June 18, 2012, Luka Magnotta was handed back over to the Canadian government, where he was escorted by the Royal Canadian Air Force in a CC-150 Polaris. That is a big fucking plane for one guy. Now, the reason they did this is because obviously they couldn't guarantee the safety of the other passengers inside of the plane while Luka was on it, regardless of how many people were guarding him. And also they didn't want to face the legal difficulties of having to stop in other countries, so they wanted a straight shot from Germany into Canada. On December 15th, 2014, after a 12-week trial, Luka Magnotta was found guilty and is currently serving a life sentence and is only eligible for parole after 25 years. And on top of that, for the other charges that he committed, such as, mailing limbs to schools and political parties, he is also serving 19 years on top of that. And some gee-whiz information about Luka. There are 6 different experts here with what they think that, like, what kind of disorder that he has, and a lot of them agree on borderline personality disorder, paranoid schizophrenia, and histrionic personality disorder. So that's just some gee-whiz information. And now, with that being said, we're going to move on to the final case of this episode with Issei Sagawa. And if that name rings a bell with you, it's because he is the Japanese cannibal that got away with it. So unlike the previous 2 cases, Issei Sagawa is very aware of what he did and is very open to talking about it. In fact, he was invited onto TV shows and radio shows and stuff like that to talk about what he did. And if you're wondering how he was able to get on TV shows and radio shows after he was convicted of murder and cannibalization of another human being, stick around for this case, because there's a lot of loopholes in here that is just what the fuck. So Issei Sagawa is a really weird case because he was first introduced and had desires for cannibalization in the 1st grade after seeing a thigh of one of his male classmates. And in a 2011 interview with Vice, he admitted to committing bestiality with a dog and then having cannibalistic desires for women, all while he was very young. And the case I'm about to cover isn't even the first time that he attempted to eat someone, because at age 24, while he was attending university, he followed a tall German woman home and attempted to eat a piece of her buttocks and just kind of run away with it. So he waited until she was sleeping, broke into her house, and then approached her with a knife in an attempt to try and slice off a piece of her buttocks so that he could just run away. But she woke up and thwarted his attack by literally beating the shit out of him. And then he was arrested for attempted rape because he didn't admit to the police what his actual intentions were. And in 1977, when he turned 27 years old, he moved to Paris to try and pursue a PhD in literature. And he said that every night he would try to bring a prostitute home. Every night. And then try to shoot them in the head when they weren't looking. But every single time his hands would freeze up and he just could not pull the trigger. That was until 1981, because on June 11th, 1981, he invited a classmate, Renee, over for dinner and studying. And Renee was a Dutch woman who was very tall and very beautiful, and Sagawa said that he selected her because she was tall and beautiful, and that was some characteristics that he felt that he lacked in himself. Now keep in mind that Sagawa was 4'9", which is about 144 centimeters, and Renee was 5'10", or 178 centimeters, and was also significantly younger. Well, not significantly, she was 7 years younger. She was 25 years old. So while Renee is there sitting at a desk reading poetry, Sagawa approached her from behind and then shot her in the neck with a rifle. And he says that after he shot her in the neck, he fainted. He passed out because of the shock that he had just murdered another human being. When he woke up, he realized that he had to carry out his plan. So the first thing he does is commit necrophilia on Renee's body. And then he tried to bite through the skin, but realized he was too weak to do so. So he left his apartment and came back with a butcher knife. So he ate various parts of her corpse, to include her face, her breasts, her buttocks, her thighs, parts of her neck, either raw or cooked. And he even ate her clitoris because she was on her period at the time, and he did not like the smell of menstrual blood. He even saved different parts of her body for later consumption by storing them in a refrigerator. And when those body parts started to decompose, he started packing them in suitcases, and his plan was to take them down to the dumpster near a lake and just leave them there. But he was caught in the act by French police. So the reason he was able to be on TV shows and talk shows and radio shows is because of the fact that his father provided a very expensive lawyer, because his father was very wealthy, and After 2 years of awaiting trial, he was deemed unfit to stand before a judge and was then committed to a mental asylum indefinitely. So he was never properly tried for a murder. And when his case became public, people started viewing him as a celebrity of sorts. So he was deported back to Japan. But when he got back to Japan, Japanese psychologists deemed him perfectly sane, and his only real crime was that he was sexually perverted. So because the Japanese found him in his right mind, and the French authorities had dropped the case because he was deported and also he was deemed mentally insane, there were no charges against Issei Sagawa. So he walked free because of a loophole in the justice system where he was unfit to stand before a judge due to mental insanity. But when he got to Japan, he was mentally well, so they released him. So Issei Sagawa checked himself out of a mental hospital on 12 August 1986, where he remained a free man up until his death on 22 November 2022, literally just last year. And that has been 3 of the more grisly murder true crime cases that have happened within the last 50 years. If you guys have any other cases you would like me to look into, or any cases that are even unsolved, please leave them in the comments down below. I'll check them out, and if I choose it, I'll give you credit in the next video. And again, thank you guys all so much for your support, from you guys coming from TikTok or just seeing me on your recommended pages. Thank you so much for all the support you've been showing me, all of the love. I cannot thank you guys enough. And until next time, bye.